Well, good morning, everybody. I hope I find you well. Thanks for joining us today for the Qnity Weekly Financial Roundtable, week number 39. And we have a special guest today, our very own Carrie Perkins. We'll get to you in a minute, Carrie. All right, so hey, money isn't the most important thing in life, but it is reasonably close to oxygen on the gotta have it scale. So we're here to have a money focus with you today, and can't believe that we're well over a year into the pandemic. Last week was a great session. We got to celebrate 1 year you survived the pandemic session. We had some great guests last week. And a lot of our topics, as we've looked over the last year and 39 weeks of doing these roundtables, has focused on money management. We've also focused on money out. And we thought, you know what? This is a good week to focus on money in. And Carrie has just some amazing stories she's going to share with us about money in, sales, revenue, increased client count, increased average ticket, and some great things that we're seeing in the field. So it's definitely going to be a money in focus. It's not that we haven't had discussions about revenue, new forms of revenue, specialized services, hair loss, highly textured hair, color, new ways to deal with at-home care, etc. But this is a deeper dive, and specifically as it relates to the team. So this week's guest is Carrie Perkins. She is our lead Qnity in Action coach. She also is a director of trainers. Carrie extraordinaire. She's based out of Colorado Springs. Carrie and I met. Carrie, can't believe it was 8 years ago, but and Carrie's become full-time with us after retiring. Too young to retire. That's the wrong word. Pivoted. I don't know what the right word is, but Carrie was a co-owner of a Colorado-based 3-location, 200 people, very successful salon spa group. And then we were lucky enough to have Carrie as an educator for us. And then she moved on to join us full time. And many of you on this call get to be inspired by and learn from Carrie as well as myself. So we welcome Carrie to our amazing brain trust. We have to add more tiles on this. We have had an amazing group of contributors, including many of you. I see some of you on the call today. Megan, I think you're on the call today, and Sue Aarons and Amanda. I'm not even sure who else. I haven't seen the roster, probably Linnell, but and remember, all progress starts when you tell the truth. And that's what we've looked for from our brain trust. And we've heard their truth, and they've inspired us and helped us stay centered throughout the times that we live in. Past recordings from the roundtable, it's its own body of work. It's an incredible amount of knowledge. It is in the Plan for Profits portal. If you want to listen to any of these recordings, this is an extremely awkward moment, catching me mouth wide open, talking about the importance of silver linings. Hey, if you can't poke fun at yourself, who can you poke fun at? And there has been so many silver linings, and we want to celebrate that. Another thing to mention, and this is very much going to be a good segue into what Carrie's going to cover, and the grass is greener where you water it. And Carrie has been helping salon owners and teams water the grass, figuratively speaking, as it relates to members of the team. So now what else do we have here for you? Should have gotten a 9 grid, one of our visual grid-based thinking tools. And remember, we want to hear from you in the chat. Michelle will manage the chat, and I'll check in a little bit later. But right now, it's all about Carrie. And good morning, Carrie. Let's get you off mic. And I do have some slides. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to go off the slides and just allow us to focus on you. So good morning, Carrie.
Good morning. So excited to be here.
Well, this was Michelle's idea, and a great idea. And she said, what about Carrie? And I'm like, well, duh, we should have done this a long time ago. But so you finally get to join us in the roundtable. Early on, we were doing the roundtable at 10 a.m. Central, and then we were doing another call at noon. So we wanted to prevent you from doing too much heavy lifting, because we know you love to work with clients. So let's set this up here. As I said, we've had a lot of focus on money out and money management, but money in, revenues, driving revenues is vitally important. And remember, nothing happens until something is sold. The country is opening up. Vaccines are happening in Minnesota here alone. I think it's Michelle, help me out here, but I think it's like 25 or 30% of Minnesotans have already received a vaccine, at least one, which is amazing. So anyway, Carrie, I don't know quite where to start here, because the list of stories that you have and successes are amazing here. So I'm gonna let you kind of just share a little bit of some of the things you're seeing in the field. And I think you got some great stories, and we do have a few trackers we have slides. We have Jill Craven, we have Soleil, and then we have a couple handwritten. So on your prompt, I'll bring them up, okay? So good morning, I've done enough talking.
Oh, well, I feel like a little puppy. Like I'm so excited. And when you reached out and like, Carrie, do you want? I'm like, yes. And then as I was talking yesterday and we were debriefing and getting ready for this, you're like, that's an amazing. I mean, there was so much to share. So what I did was I narrowed it down to some different ways to look at some success stories from a service provider's perspective, from leadership, and then from the team element, because growth and reaching goals, there's different things that make that happen. And so I wanted to bring stories. And then I was talking to one of my accounts that I'm going to share today. And I said, what would you want to know? This is a financial roundtable. They're here to talk about numbers, and they're going to want to walk away with stuff. So I'm really excited to share some things that I'm experiencing out there. And I don't know how you want me to dive into this, because it's
the Mary story.
The Mary story.
Share the Mary story, because I think everybody can relate with the Mary story.
Okay, yes. And I didn't know it was a Mary story until at the end of this presentation. A part of what I do when I'm coaching with clients is first work with leaders, and then we take it to the team. Because when we're looking, we practice something at Qnity called Unity. So unity between the entrepreneur, the business, and the creative. So we went into this team and we did a presentation on goal setting, and we used a tool we have called Qplan. But the presentation didn't start with numbers. It started, let's talk about your hopes and dreams. What does prosperity mean to you? And it was a variety. It was a full team. There was close to 20 people on the call, and there was brand new people, their associates, and then seasoned people at 28 years. So I go into this presentation, we talk about what does the growth mean to you? What is prosperity? And they pick images of what that really is for them. And then we talk about what's holding them back. And that's different for everyone. So at the end of this presentation, and I go to one of the new people, and they say, so you're really clear of where you want to go. And we've set an action plan to it, because a goal without a plan is just a wish. So taking that hope to action, Tom, you speak about it all the time, Tom, like we have this hope, but how do we make it happen? So the whole time we're spending is really connecting to their intrinsic motivator. And at the end, I go to Mary, who's been a stylist for 28 years. And my experience at every level, if you connect to a person's why, you're going to get it. So I say, Mary, what did you take? And she says very simply that I need to raise my color prices. And I was like, yeah, that's fantastic. And later I found out that this has been the thing that has been holding Mary back for years. And through this process, she was able, and she works at a salon called Venisa's Salon and Spa. And Vanessa, the owner, had been trying to coach her and all the benefits. And she knew there's nothing I could tell her or anyone could tell her. It's a knowing to doing. So that was a big aha that she uncovered for her opportunity and why it was important to her, and now put a plan to it. Pause.
Okay. Now, I was trying to do a little math on this in terms of the value of a price increase. It might be premature to do that, but when we've done this in the past, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars difference in revenue with one individual addressing that block. Now, tell me here by chat, is this the only owner that's struggling with trying to get members of your team to take a price increase? All right, Carrie, you had something that you described, and I think it was a pace car. So what's so important about this, she's the a top producer, right, in the business?
Yes, she is.
And the owner's been trying to get her to raise prices for years, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Talk about the whole pace car thing. Well, I thought that's a really cool way of describing something that we know exists.
Well, yeah, and I want to combine another little story here. And if you want to put the slide, so it'll mirror this. I'm working with a Salon Fleur de Lis in St. Louis, and the owner reached out to me because she had her top stylist. Her name is Kelsey, and Kelsey felt like that she was stuck. Like these goals, we do this thing called tracker. Now this is Styles on Broadway's tracker. Kelsey's is an individual.
I'm not sure I have a screenshot of that. Sorry about that, Carrie.
Okay, do you want to hide this one? Because there we go. Okay, so she reached out and she said, Kelsey is stuck because they have to be able to believe it to achieve it. Like, I've got to believe I can do this. And so what's important about this is Kelsey is her pace car, meaning that's the ceiling for people. So your top stylist is what every other stylist believes that they can get to. So if we work on raising or moving that pace car a little higher, everyone else will follow. So there's this conception that there's a ceiling. I can't make any more. I've reached the top. Well, in our industry, the beautiful thing, there is no top, only what ceiling we put there. So putting our attention on your pace car, how far will you go is really important. So Alicia reached out and said, Carrie, we're stuck. We met with Kelsey and really clarified it's not about growing both numbers. It's growing this for her at the top. She couldn't do more clients, so her growth was going to come from average ticket. And then what did that look like? And for her, the ceiling opened up and there was no top for her. So from that moment, it's 75% increase in retail, 20% increase. The ceiling was gone. And now because of Kelsey, and I am sure when Mary raises her prices, it's going to bring confidence that if Mary can do it, I can do it. So working on your pace car, your person that is driving the speed of your company is the most important.
I just want to hold that because that is just such an important thing that I don't hear a lot of people discussing. And the how a ceiling. And I remember having a conversation, and this is you. I want a quick story here. I remember there's a Rochester, Minnesota-based salon company, and it had 3 people that refused to raise their prices. They were top 3 people. And I finally compared Rochester, Minnesota, which has the Mayo Clinic, it's an affluent area, to this little town in Texas. Little town in Texas, you had someone charging $95. Rochester, Minnesota, they cut, this was about 5 years ago, it's cut at like $65. When you move the top people, I think what we're hearing from you, it's not just the additional revenue that comes from their price increase, but the domino effect. Am I hearing you right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You're only going to go as far as your top stylists and top service providers, estheticians, massage therapists. And if we really nurture those conversations that they're having with themselves, and we spend the time to figure that out, and they lift it for themselves, we all go.
So why couldn't the owners accomplish this on their own? I mean, it sounds like it had to be their idea.
It's absolutely the service provider's idea. And Tom, what I'm seeing out in the field is some of the salon owners have the ceiling. They don't want to, I don't see that I can do this. And so sometimes bringing in what is possible. Our industry is limitless possibilities. You just mentioned it, the different area, it's not your geographic, it's your mindset. So having somebody on the outside looking in and saying, is that really where you want to stop? Because if you don't want to stop there, what do we do? How do we go past that? And that's where the organic growth happens. We're getting into people's stories because
okay.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I'm gonna stop.
So this is
excited about this.
So this is a virtual meeting. You're going to the virtual meeting. Mary's part of it, and everybody, they share their dreams of prosperity using our tool, and then that results in action. Let's also talk about something that we believe in and something we developed a long time ago, and it's called the 17% challenge. And a 17% challenge, which is a very structured way to look at growth individual by individual. So first of all, let's give a little context because not everybody knows about our 17% challenge. Like just the specifics. How long is it? What do you track? What are the keys? So just quick overview of 17% challenge because some of the other examples that we're going to get to are really the results are as a result of a 17% challenge.
Yeah, so a 17% challenge is the 13-week challenge. We have a target. So when we put in where we want to go, we've created a baseline. So we're looking back over 26 weeks and get an average from there. And then we put in an 8.5, and really depends, 8.5 in client count, 8.5 in average ticket. And then you're tracking it. We have a lot of studies that show when people track, they're 50% more likely to outperform. So there's a tracking element, there's a coaching element, we're following up, we're really inspiring commitment from the team. And I will literally hop on a call with a client and we'll go through staff member, really fast, bullet point, because you can tell, you've all heard this, numbers tell stories. So there's accountability to this. We create teams, and in these teams, this is where Jill Craven is, blowing it out of the water with where they're at. And even asked them yesterday, what do you think it is? And they're like, it's this. This is why.
All right, you mentioned Jill Craven. They're generous and
okay, go ahead. Do you want me to talk about that one? All right.
You want to go to, let's go to, all right. So this is, what are we looking at right here?
This is a service provider's growth. And if you notice in this
is Sam, okay.
So if you know, and I can't move the cursor, this is where somebody is, if you can see the top where their baseline was, and then the bottom is where it's the 17% is the goal that they're shooting for. So this is, and where every week you're the leader, you're plugging it in, but there's a paper tracker to this. There is a service provider. Now this is, when we look at these numbers, you might think that this is a service provider who's been doing it for 15, 20 years. In this culture, in this salon, this is the average of her, we call them their midline. Like this, I know this is Cody, he's been doing it for just at 4 years. And if you look at this level of growth, it's the focus, it's the structure put in place. And when we think about, I was going to share the story about the team element. Right now, they have two people, Cody is one of them and Ainsley is another, that actually created dyads within the team. The first, because this is consecutive, we run these back to back because you can double your business in a year and a half. That's 6 of these back to back. And I have a couple salons that are on their second and third where they've done it across the country. Kentucky, Lasting Impressions, has 2 people that are getting ready to hit their 3rd challenge, and they've done 2. They're halfway there to doubling their business. And it boils down to creating targets, creating structure, following up, acing. Yes. Oh, Michelle's posting. I saw the post. So in this is a person that is pacing, and he's in the middle. He's 4 years into this. And so but pace cars are moving much farther or faster. And so he's got.
Let's break this down a little bit. So before, this is Cody's weekly average. Mm-hmm. And this is what a 17% growth would look like. Yes. With half the growth coming from client count and half the growth coming from average ticket. Yes. And then this is a Google Drive tracker, but that's not what Cody's doing, right?
No, if you go back to the paper tracker that you were showing from Styles on Broadway, the service providers actually would do this. This is a salon that's paper tracking. And every one of the yellows that's highlighted, they beat their goal. Now, this is Styles on Broadway in Martin, Tennessee, and Dyersburg. And Brock and Mari, I was going to say his mom, Mari.
The owners,
the owners have been doing this for over a year and tracking on a weekly basis. And part of their story is bringing in their team. So there's a paper tracker that the team does. And the digital tracker is just where you're able to you have everybody's numbers in one spreadsheet and you're following along. Because over here to the right, where you see the percentages up or down, that's over the baseline. So even if and you can see Cody, he's like really 7%, 30%, 32% in service. At the bottom, and where it says the average, that's where he's averaging for the 13 weeks. So if the challenge was to end, he would, Mari's all broad, he would be at 72% if the challenge was done in retail.
All right, let me put this in perspective. So if this trend continues, which it's highly likely, and it's one of the reasons we use 13 weeks, it's long enough to create a new habit. It takes 66 days to create a new habit. 13 weeks times 5 days a week is 65 days. So there's a lot of science and research and statistics that go into the 17% challenge. Why 13 weeks? Why client count? Why average ticket? Why hand tracking? All that kind of stuff. But just to put this in perspective, he was doing 4,600 a week before, and his new average is just under 6,000. So if we annualize this, this is $70,000 of incremental revenue from one person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And their company is paid, majority of the team is experiencing this.
All right. Now this right here, this is, I'm not sure who this is, but this is another tracker. Tell me about this one.
Well, so this actually, we are doing a beat your week. Sometimes pulling in a tracker, this is Salon Soleil, Louisa is the owner.
Okay, so this is a New Hampshire-based salon company, and this is their entire team. It's a smaller salon than Jill Craven, small but mighty. If you met Louisa, mighty is a great word. So take us through this, because this shows what you're saying is rather than looking at the past and increasing it by 17%, what you're doing is having people just beat their best week, right?
Yes. And
Okay.
so even though there's a 17% goal there, that might not always be the best fit. She went through a lot of transition, getting in there, getting her team focused on having their best week, because we know growth is going to come from the individual that creates the collective, the combined. So she's working on the team, and we go in and we could totally see how these conversations, week over week, she's seeing that growth. Week over week, she's beating her week. She sends videos out to her team to celebrate, and she dresses up, and it's a party with Louisa always. And this is an example of when you're focused on the two numbers that really do drive the growth. And whether you're doing a 17% challenge or you're doing a beat your week, you're focused in those small steps. Yes, I just got off the call yesterday. Now, again, with this, you're going to see even through the whole close down and COVID afterwards, Brock and Styles and Broadway continue growing over and over. And they brought in their leaders. So their leaders are really focused on those numbers.
Tell me, you talk about conversations. Are you suggesting that by doing the weekly, by the way, I know this group and like, well, we track, we do numbers, we do all this stuff. Well, is it working, And my point of view is, Carrie talked about Qnity a little bit, that the pendulum has switched so far away from digital and electronic that we've lost that tactile learning that comes from using your hand, which is why one of the important reasons for hand tracking. So are you suggesting that the conversations, they happen weekly? And what do the conversations look like to create this kind of growth?
Yeah, there's in the initial sitting down and getting clear of what they believe is possible for themselves, what they want. You have to connect the dots. It's always about connecting the dots. So here are your dreams. Here is your plan. The next dot I need to create is keep you connected to that. This is where I find a lot of times when I present this to coaching clients, they're like, I don't have enough time. And what I share with them, then what do you have enough time for? It might be where you're looking at this tracker and you're connecting. Some people, like Mary, I wouldn't go back right away. She's ready to make that change. And I'd want to carve out that time, because how much is that 30-minute conversation going to benefit you and her? So would you find the time if I said I have $1 million for you right now? I have $30,000. Do you have 30 minutes for me? Yes, because that lives in the conversation. We don't know where they're stuck. Every single one of these conversations are different. Mary's conversation is different than Kelsey's. Different than when I go through each person. If you notice that there's an opportunity, let's talk about it. Because there's two things: you believe it, and then you're acting on it. And when you're not reaching it and you're getting discouraged, you either stop believing in it or you stop doing it, right? So do you believe it and are you acting on it? And if you're not acting on it, have you stopped believing it? It's one or the other. So as the owners, we're dialed in. We call checking the temperature. How's it going? First temperature, we see the number. That's just half the story. What really is driving that number is your entrepreneurs, your human capital. And there's nothing more valuable than connecting the dots there.
So
That's
you're so great at coaching, and we're all looking for coaching tips. So what are some tangible coaching tips that you find work when you're trying to really bring the best out of individuals and to help them realize their potential?
I start with what I need to eliminate. I need to eliminate shoulds, whys, questions that have well-meaning, but have guilt seeping all through them. So I'm going to leave some of those. I'm going to get down to really tell me about you. What do you want to celebrate about last week? And what do you want to change? This is their life. This is their experience. We're there to help pull them through. So power of the pause, going in with the really best questions to get them to say it. Because if they're not saying it and you're telling, there's going to be no change.
You just, all right, power the pause.
Power of the pause.
All right, let's pause. And I want to unpack that. But before I do, back to the should, I think it was you or Jody that came up with this phrase, don't should on people, right? And should is, I love that phrase. It's very powerful and meaningful. It's funny too, but it's true. When you say power the pause, talk about that a little bit.
Oh my gosh, and so many, just talked with Alicia from Florida Lee, like allowing them to uncover it for themselves. Ask a question and yes, don't fill it. Tell me about the week. If it could have been different for you, what would it be? And pause. It's silence that makes us uncomfortable. And when they share what happened and what would it look like for you to be different next week? I have these same conversations with salon owners. I get on a call and I don't know what they've been through. I have to help them. It's in the pause that we grow. And the other thing I would say, comparing your service providers to another is probably one of the worst things we can do. Well, Mary can do it. And if Mary can do it, well, I don't really like the way Mary does it. So all they're hearing is you go, blah, blah, blah. We need to leave out, we practice the concept me versus me. So if you go in there, this has nothing to do with anyone else. Yes, Sue, comparison is the death of joy. I absolutely agree. And we have to be the joy givers, not the joy takers. And we are that when we walk in. So if we go in with the only objective is to help them uncover their greatness, to help them to uncover their possibility. What questions do you ask? What is it you want from today? What is it you can do differently from today? And when they say it, I'm like, wow, I love that. And then follow up to it. How did it go? How did that conversation go? And then also I would encourage that you don't go in with, we're all doing this together, because not everybody has to focus on pre-book. Not everybody has to focus on retail. Mary's opportunity, well, it was raising her prices. The newer person on the team, she needs to build her book. So she's focusing on retention and referrals. So you got to go in with not cookie cutter. Each individual is you're working with them on their thing. And if you're not in the right mind space, I wouldn't have a coaching session. If you're not feeling good, if you're feeling like, I've told her this a million times, pause yourself. That's the power of the pause. Take a deep breath, reschedule.
Is there a talk-listen ratio that you like to sort of keep in mind? How much talking versus how much listening? If you've got a one-on-one, and by the way, a one-on-one could be micro short. It could be less than 1 minute, or it could be 30 minutes. So ratio, talk versus listen.
Well, I'm not really following it right now, but an 80-20, that the person you're coaching is talking 80% of the time, and you're only talking 20%. Everybody has their own answer. Everybody knows. It's just the doing.
We've got a lot of very well-known market leaders on this call that really I admire for so many reasons. I admire because they're pretty damn good at what they do, but they're also lifelong learners. And many of them have a lot of confidence around talking with the numbers, but they're not getting this kind of growth. What are some common traps that owners might get into when it gets to talking about the numbers? I mean, you've got some examples where owners, great owners, did a great job, but until they actually did this challenge and had another way of looking at it, they weren't able to get success. So talk about that a little bit for our audience here.
Well, when I think of the one in the one-on-one, that you go in with really looking at what that person's need is, and not go in thinking you know. Go in with the mindset, I don't know what I don't know. So there's that. Like, if I'm not getting the results that I want, what part can I change? And then when we move into team, am I utilizing my team to help? Peer-to-peer collaboration, we have dyads, we have team, and challenges, contests are totally two different things, and using them when you in the right places. So I would say that, or am I doing the right things? Because if I'm not getting a result, then I have to do something different. Okay, so then when I think about connecting peer to peer, we put the system together. So have I utilized it? And am I making it fun? Am I making it meaningful? Like, everybody has a meaning around numbers. I have my own personal goals. And when I share this with someone, I say, it's not about the actual number, it's about who I have to be. And that's my driver. Other people have drivers. When I talk to a stylist, she's like, I just want to be the top, not because of the money, but the top means this for me. I just want to be this. I want to be the most creative. So am I feeling, Alicia, accountability partners, am I feeling that I'm living my best self? So if you don't know if you think you know, then verify that with your team. And that's where I would start. I'd get back, really look at my coaching process, look at, am I getting the results that I want? And you might even have the same conversation. Are you getting the results that you want? And then also carving time. And that would be the other thing. We do these seasonal, we do these twice a year reviews because we're supposed to, and we do them. And then what do we do in between? What dots are we connecting from this review, this one-on-one, to what happens behind the chair, table, or front desk to the next one? Are we doing it? The tracker does that. But are we doing it with ourselves? Are we showing up fully? That's what I would ask leaders in the market.
Alicia mentioned an accountability partner. What's an accountability partner? Is that peer-to-peer, or what is it?
Oh, it could be different people. Typically, some people will draw, so it's random. Don't encourage you to put people with their best friends. They're not going to push. We call them dyads. Having somebody that you work with that's helping you go to the next level or achieve whatever you're working on.
So it's a peer. It could be a slightly different level, but this isn't like manager, stylist. It's stylist, right? Or
front
massage
desk
therapist, massage. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So accountability partners. Okay. And Sue, I think it's a little bit different than a mentor program, because this is very informal. It could be one new person with another new person, two masters together. So it's not really mentoring. It's really accountability.
Yeah, it's they would agree upon a time they would connect, whether it's a weekly text, a high five, we'll share each other's trackers. They're really just celebrate, how did it go for you? And we have something called ACE, appreciate, care, challenge, and encourage. And this is a person that's going to show you, encourage you and challenge you and not really teach you. This mentoring I see is more like, hey, let me help you through this. But if you identify mentorship, it could be a mentor, but really this is, we're going to hold each other accountable to this thing and how we do it.
One of the things we know about behavior change is that in many cases, people mistake lack of motivation for lack of clarity.
Yes.
And in many cases, just by virtue of setting the time, the time and the place to address something, you're able to create an immediate habit change. Because many people are like, they know they want to change, but they haven't scheduled it and they haven't decided where. So usually an accountability partner, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, they set a specific time each week, a specific place, and it's that consistency that brings change, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Go back to, you talked about challenge and contest, and we specifically refer to these as challenges. What is the distinction between a challenge and a contest, and why is it important?
Don't get me wrong, I love a good contest, but a contest is, here's a timeline, and maybe it's a pre-book contest. And when we do this contest, it's an extrinsic motivator. It's going to be for 30 days, 6 weeks, and here's the prize. Everybody go. And whether it's percentage or whatever, there's an end date to it, and there's a prize, and it's over. Well, incredible. All pre-book go up, numbers go up, contest goes away, the behaviors go away. In a challenge, you're challenging a new beingness, a new outcome that's lasting. We talked about 66 days to make a habit. In this whole 17% challenge, these 13 weeks, we're looking at behaviors. We coach to behaviors, we celebrate the numbers. I think a lot of leaders coach to numbers and not really, because they don't have time. I literally have gone through this, and I've had owners sit back and go, I don't know when I'm going to have the time. So let's find the time. Let's look at little pieces that we can look at the behaviors. Numbers will tell you where to look, and then you go there.
So a contest typically has 1 or 2 or 3 winners.
Yep.
Challenge is everybody can win, right? And I think that's a key idea also with the challenge, is that, you know, we want everybody to win, not just those typical 1 or 2, 3 people, right?
Everybody has it's about the individual, that they're challenging themselves to think different, be different. And it doesn't go away. These are lasting. So it's more of an intrinsic process than it is an extrinsic process.
So at Qnity, we promote a very simplified way to look at key performance indicators, with client count and average ticket being the mother of sales indicators. And early on, or during the pandemic, just like in 2008 during the recession, then client count went up and average ticket went down. So the growth was going to come from average ticket. You're noticing a big change in that. You're noticing that client count is absolutely starting to go back up again, and that's where a lot of the growth is these days, right?
Yes, yesterday when we were going through this and I was showing, over the last 6 to 8 weeks, it's slowly going up, and now we're seeing really big jumps in client count.
Yeah.
But they were focusing on I'm sorry, Tom, just real quickly, over these last period of time, the clients that we've been working with on these trackers, because the conversation has been average ticket, those behaviors are now permanent. So as they're doing more people, those more people are getting this. So it's like this explosive, like double whammy, like I'm still doing these things that I've learned to do to increase my average ticket. Now you add someone else in. So I'm taking advantage of both.
Tell me about, all right, there's someone by the name of Amy that you mentioned, and this is in a hourly based salon. Some people call it team-based pay, and just, regardless what you call it, it's an hour or salary type salon. And there's someone by the name of Amy. So tell us a little bit about Amy and how this works in a hourly based environment.
Yes, well, and this really does, if it's an hourly based or team based, however you call it, the thing is, if we can identify what's in it for the service provider, what's in it for the client, and what's in it for the salon when we go into this. Because a lot of times it's not that instant gratification that they're going to see on their next check that we talk about in commission. But if you clearly have defined what it looks like when we get there, and they bought in. So for Amy, for her, she's taken on a leadership role. She's guiding other people through their challenge. So the first 13 weeks, she got to, as she's practicing it and sharing it, she hit her 17. We're now in our second challenge. She's got 1 week left, and she is going to hit it again. And for her, she was like, she wasn't clicked into it. And so watching her experience what's possible, she knows what's at the end for her. Like, if we do this, this is what we're going to be able to accomplish or get. And for her to go in week over week, simple numbers, it wasn't important to her before, because what does my one number do? So what happened is they have this clear outcome, and then she's seeing it over. So when I shared with her this week, Amy, do you know 4 more of these and you've doubled your business? And offline, talking with the owner in that situation, what does it look like when you have someone in a year and a half at her level double her business? Because that's the thing, Tom, brand new, Mary, 28 years, Cody, 4, there's no ceiling. I keep going back that the only ceiling is what we put there.
You know, we throw out the 17 and 17%, and some people are scratching their heads. And, you know, we fully unpack it in the Prosper program. Why 17%, why content, why challenge, all that stuff. But I'm going to do a little quick description, and then you can jump on it. So why 17%? Well, it's research based. One of the things we found is that in looking for a goal, we want to make sure it has two criteria. It has to be significant, but also achievable. And 17% was this odd number that worked out mathematically to be that sweet spot. Carrie has also mentioned doubling the business. Let me explain that a little bit. If you have 6 different, I'm going to do like a little virtual stair step, okay? So 17% growth over your previous weekly average. If you do it 6 different times, when you do the math, that is a 100% increase or doubling your business. So I wanted to explain that for the group. So 17%, and Carrie, you threw out something else that I want to make sure that we don't have confusion on, is in many cases, or in most cases, what we'll have our clients do is they'll look for half the growth from more clients. So 8.5% growth from client count and 8.5% growth from average ticket. But that can be mixed up, right, Carrie? Could be one or the other, or?
Yeah, this is what helped with Kelsey at Salon Fleur de Lis. She was really like stuck on that she couldn't do more clients. So now I'm done. There was no clarity for her. So she had given up. She lost the belief. So when we met with her and brought clarity that your growth can come all from average ticket, then she was like, oh, I'm back in the game. And that's where, again, meeting and finding out what their belief is to help. So yes, depending, we usually we talk about the teeter-totter, a little bit of both. So even as a senior stylist and you're fully booked, the idea that we should be focused on always building our business, because people leave, people change. So, but the growth piece may come just from one or the other.
I remember, I hate this term, I'm going to use it anyway, but back in the day when we were out doing like live seminars and stuff, I remember going through and we would break down for members of the team how many more clients and what the increase in average ticket is needed for a 17% increase. And after me personally, and you've done more than I have, doing I don't know how many different team meetings, I can remember on less than 10 individuals that said they couldn't have a 17% increase when you broke it down into the very, very basics, like 2 more clients a week, 3 more clients a week. Is that what you find also?
Yeah, and 1 or 2 more clients a week, $5 to $10 more per ticket usually is the case. And when you work with them and then you do if your average ticket is $100 and you do just one more, that's 200 a payroll if you're doing payroll, and you do that really quick, like, wow. So what would you do to do 1 client? And now we have drivers, we talk about client count and average ticket, and then you go a little bit deeper. Our average ticket is driven by products, retail, and pricing. And pricing is a huge one. Mary would fall under pricing, that situation where she was afraid to charge more or not charge. I share the story about a service provider that thought she had to get a second job. And I showed her side hustle right within her work. She was ready to leave and go, and because she wasn't making enough money. And when we got clear of what those drivers were, and I said, now you don't have to put your daughter in daycare. And she was able to find the money within her job. Was meaning for her.
That is a really big thing there. That's a really big thing to unpack. Okay. And we all know members of our team that say, I'm not making enough money, I need a second job, and this is disheartening for all of us, they leave the industry. So how do you go about proving they don't need the side hustle?
Well, in this case, I had to show her where the money was. And so client count is for the future. If I work on my client count, I'm going to see that in the future. Average ticket is immediate. It shows up if you're in a commission based on your next check. That's what we had to focus on. So I pulled her numbers and I said to her, let's look at your add-ons. And we defined what our add-ons, and we went through it. And she thought she was giving add-ons to everybody. And I said, this is amazing. I love that you're doing 22 clients a week and you feel everyone is, but the reality is only 2 to 3 people are averaging an add-on. And imagine if you did 2 more add-ons a week, 3 more add-ons. So her body language changed. Then I quickly went to retail. And right or wrong, don't want to get in a retail commission conversation, but you had to meet a threshold before you can get bonused. And when we looked back over the baseline period, she was missing her retail, but hundreds of dollars by 1 or 2 products. Now she's tearing in her eyes. And then I asked her, how many discounts do we moved into pricing? How many discounts do you give in this period of time? I don't discount. Pulled up and showed her over $2,500 in discounts. She's like, what? And then I went through and I had pulled them because I needed to show her, not prove a case, let her find out for herself, uncover the truth. And when she sat back, body language crying, she had a huge shift. And the very next check, guess what? It was over 400 and it just went up from there. 400 additional dollars in 2 weeks because she realized it was her that was making the decision not to show up. I couldn't tell her. I couldn't should her and could her and don't you know her? She had to say to herself. And when we do those little conversations, now I had 4 locations. I was out of my corporate office. Manager calls me and says, hey, she wants to cut her hours to get a side job. Boom, I flew down. I got my numbers together. I went down because if we don't hit it, if we go into a pause too long without addressing it, they're already making decisions and they start building their decision. So when you hear the whisper, you jump on it. You jump on it. You show them.
Would you say when you hear the whisper, jump on it?
Yes. There's always the whisper.
What's the whisper?
In this case, the manager called and said, hey, I just heard this. That's a whisper.
Oh.
The notice is, I'm leaving. Sorry, I got loud. That's the storm. But when you hear the wind, there's a truth to the wind. Go to it.
All right. I am looking at the clock and I feel like I personally could go another maybe an hour with you here. Do you have is there anything that you feel that you want to make sure that we cover with this group before we wrap up your segment?
No, I just encourage people to look at ways to connecting to people's stories, connecting the dots, using structures to help you do it, to make it simple. Our tracking system allows us to quickly go in and check the temperature, and then from there, address the whispers, because even a down number over a few weeks is a whisper. So anyway, I would say, look at your structures. Are you getting the results that you want? Sometimes having someone outside come in and have you look at what you're not seeing, because sometimes we start talking and we don't realize we're the problem. I'm sorry, anyone on the call that offends, but sometimes we could be the problem that's holding it back, and having someone to listen to you and say, hey, maybe you might want to think, or what about this, to help you get unstuck. So that's my thought.
Let's give, I'm reading let's give Carrie a virtual round of applause, loud virtual round of applause. You can actually hear mine, okay? And all right, and anyway, so Carrie, I officially award you the $1 million light bulb for this idea. Welcome to America. You've been part of the Brain Trust here. You've contributed so much. But anyway, congratulations and thank you. Awesome job. So thanks you. We got to have you come back
whenever you need me, Tom.
All right, let's see what else we have here. I do want to acknowledge people on the call here. I think that a big part of Carrie's message is to know the why. You know, we started out that money's not the most important thing, but it's like oxygen. Is find out why. What is the oxygen for the member of your team? You know, it's money in and of itself doesn't mean anything. What is the why? You know, is it to support loved ones, to pursue more creative opportunities? Is it to get out of debt? Is it to buy a home? Whatever. Something else that Carrie didn't mention is that for all of the drivers, for all the growth drivers, it's great to look at them from a 3 why standpoint: why it benefits the client, why it benefits the salon or spa, and why it benefits the individual, so that you are very clear on what's in it for everyone. So anyway, Carrie, you've got a group coming up here. It's a group starting April 12th, and I think part of this will focus on the growth challenge. Is that right? For this group coming up April 12th?
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
gotcha. So Carrie, you can work with Carrie individually. You can work with her in a group. We've also got other coaches. So anyway, once again, Carrie, thank you very much. Reminder, if you want some help, we have a complimentary gap analysis where you can get a score. Something else that I wanted to mention, and I'm try to talk about this every week. I'm not going to this week, but there's a lot going on in the world of transactions. I'm seeing a lot of mergers. I'm seeing buyouts. I'm seeing members of the team become owners. I mean, that's where I'm spending in terms of the time that I spent serving as an advisor. I spend a lot of time in this area, and we're just seeing a lot of great momentum going on with the pandemic being an accelerator to really positive change. We do have sponsors for this. I want to acknowledge Aura and Vish. Closing thoughts. I'm going to, first of all, before we wrap up, I want to acknowledge everybody on this call. But remember, if you want to fly, you have to give up the things that weigh you down. And I think that was a big part of Carrie's message, is find out what is weighing people down and, help them learn how to give them up, such as the beliefs that Mary had or the beliefs that other people had in the team, like Kelsey. So, all right. So who the heck is on the call today? And oh my gosh, I see a lot of comments here. Thanks, Carrie. Thanks, Carrie. Great job. Great job. Great job. Great job. Okay. A lot of great jobs. All right. But who the heck's on here? Oh, we have Jennifer Parker. Jennifer, where are you? There you are. So again, I acknowledge Aura. And there was a great segment that Aura did a while ago. It's in our Plan for Profits curriculum. So we're going to be hearing more from Aura again. But who do we have? We have Amanda here. Amanda, you're always the first name that pops up on my screen. So good morning, Amanda from Georgia. We have A. Adams. I'm not sure what the first name is. We have Alicia, Anna, Angela, Ashley. Hello, Ben. Ben, I didn't know you were in Palm Springs. I was there about a month ago. I would have looked you up. Good morning, Brock. Great shout out by Carrie. Hi, Casey, Christine B, Christine C, Connie. Hello, Jan. Jan, thanks for your comments. Hello, Jen. Good morning, Jenner. How are you? You're up early today. Well, actually not that early. Jessica G. Hi, Jessica. How are you? Joe and Karen Deanda. Hello. Hope you guys are doing well. And Carrie and Kelly and Kelly. Louisa, good morning. She gave you a great shout out today. Mari, good morning, Mari. Hello, Mark Gonzalez Pardo. Always great to see you on here, as well as Melissa. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Michelle Savell. Thank you. Hello, Nina. Nina, Carrie got stories about you too. We'll have to do it another week. Hey, we got Orlando. My partner Orlando's on here. Good morning. Hello, Philip, Quinn, Robert Cromian. Good morning, Robert. Sam Vercata. I always love that you show up, Sam. We always draft you. You got a week off this week. Sam J, Sandra, Shay, Sue Aarons. Hello, Sue. Terry McKee. Hello, Tony Gordon. Tracy, always love seeing you on these calls. Trent Lang. Quick shout out to Trent Lang. He's been a guest many times. Trent was giddy yesterday when I talked to him because he's a 62% increase in retail. Your promotion that you shared a couple weeks ago is crazy. Crazy good. And Vanessa, thank you. I love hearing the story about Mary and Zahir. I'm so glad you're with us on this call today. All right, guys, I'm supposed to be in another call in about 3 minutes, so I better wrap up and send you off to a great week. Carrie, thanks again for a great job. Michelle, thank you for your production behind the scenes. And we look forward to seeing you in a future week. So thanks again. Bye.